and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Today we're at the very pretty little village of Wherwell, which is about 3 miles south of Andover in Hampshire, and we're going to be doing a roughly 2.5 to 3 mile walk from the village to the equally pretty village of Chilbolton. Along the way we'll be looking at a couple of churches, a couple of pubs, a delightful common, and we'll be crossing the River Test at least twice, so do join us. Well, I've parked my car at the car park next to the church. Which is just behind me here. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Here we go. So this is the St. Peter and Holy Cross Church, and the building we see today was built between 1854 and 1858, basically over the footprint of a previous Norman church that had been damaged in a fire. The previous church was a replacement to an ancient building founded by Queen Elfrida in AD 986. I think it's got 6 bells, and I'll tell you a little bit about Queen Elfrida in a second. And just to the side I need to show you this very, very impressive mausoleum that was built in around about 1858 as well for the ironmonger or earmonger family, and they bought the estate in the mid 1700s. And although they no longer are owners of the estate, they still use this mausoleum today. And look at those rather frightening looking gargoyles. Ooh, scary stuff. Well, the village has got a fascinating history, and I mentioned Queen Elfrida. And I believe she was the first woman to be anointed Queen of England when she married King Edgar in the mid-10th century. There's a long story as to how she became queen, but I'll let you look that up yourselves. But basically, to cut a long story short, when Edgar died, his son by his first marriage, Edward, became king. Well, Elfrida wasn't too happy about that. She had a son of her own, Ethelred. So she arranged for Edward to be murdered at Corfe Castle, and that allowed Ethelred to become king. Well, Ethelred wasn't impressed with his mother's actions, and eventually Elfrida withdrew from public life. She went on to build an abbey here just over to my right and became its first abbess. She eventually died here at the abbey. I think she drowned in the River Test. Well, the abbey itself got burnt down, unfortunately, in 1147 during the Civil War at the time. It was rebuilt in 1227 by the Abbess Euphemia, and it became quite successful. There were something like 80 nuns there at one stage. But then, of course, Henry VIII came along with his dissolution of monasteries, and the whole abbey was demolished with very few buildings surviving. A few bits of the abbey, I believe, are inside the church and also dotted around the village, if you know where to look. Now, just by me on my right, I will turn around, but there's not a lot to see because I'll put a picture up, hopefully. The present house here, just next to the church, now known as Wherwell Priory, is privately owned, and I believe it started to be built in the 16th century, but largely was built between 1820 and 1830. Okay, history lesson over. Let's get on with the walk, shall we? We're going to make our way through the village now, and this is called Church Street. Absolutely fantastic properties down here. Look at these, isn't that beautiful? This is, oh yeah, 28 Church Street. You've got a date of 1516. I mean, that means it'll have been built here when the Abbey was still here. Isn't that stunning? As we go through the village, we'll see a lot of thatch and timber, wattle and daub, cob and chalk. And oh, it's quite exquisite. And this is part of the River Tess. Oh, I love the the fish head on the gate there. And how pretty is that? Free-flowing chalk stream. So we'll be crossing the River Test a few times on our walk today. Absolutely stunning. And look at this. The village of Wherwell, by the way, it sort of it comes from bubbling springs, resulting in the Middle Ages place name of Wherwell with an H, as it were, which means kettle springs. Oh, look at those lovely hydrangeas and gosh, well, I'm almost speechless. And the roses as well, lovely. Well, I'm right by the War Memorial here. I'm a little confused. So I saw a photograph that was taken about 8 years ago, and there was a tree planted right by here. I think it was called the pound tree. It replaced a much older elm tree that died in the 1950s, but no sign of it. I'll double check. Oh, actually there is a little stump that I can just about see there. So there was a tree here once, but just stepping back, oh, look at that row of cottages there. I'm already running out of words to describe some of these things already. Isn't that beautiful? And then all along here. Okay, we're going to continue our little meander through before we eventually get out onto the countryside. What have we got here? Old chapel, 1846. Now a private property. And look at these hanging underneath the porch horseshoes. Isn't that brilliant? Making our way towards the pub. Well, here we are at the pub, the White Lion. There's an old coaching inn that goes back to the, well, built in 1611 originally, although the majority of the building that you see there today is 18th century. And over the years it's been used as a courthouse, auction room and mortuary. In fact, it used to stable its own horses that were hired out to provide extra horsepower to pull heavy coaches up the steep gradient of the old hill going to Andover. That's before they put the hairpin bend in 1838. The White Lion rampart is from the coat of arms of Sir Thomas West, and he was the chap who took over the Abbey remains after the dissolution. They're absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I get that all the time.
A lovely day to be out as well. Wow, those were really beautiful horses, weren't they? Okay, I'm doing a little detour up the old hill road, which would have been the original road out of the village, going over this railway bridge. Pop over the side, and this is an old disused railway line constructed in the 1880s, and it was just a small 6-mile branch line from Hurstbourne to Fullerton. Very much an ambitious plan to connect Newbury to Southampton, but it was never a financial success, and it closed to passenger traffic in 1931 and then to freight traffic in 1956. Right, back down onto the original road. Right, another little detour. We will get out into the countryside shortly, I do promise. But I just want to have a look and see where the old railway station was. If I just pan round here, this little building here, I think this might have been the old station master's house, I'm not sure. But oh look, you can see what they've done in the garden there with their path with the old railway track alongside. That's brilliant. Okay, and then hopefully down here is where the old railway station's located. Yeah, this building here definitely has the look of a railway about it, doesn't it? So this is the old booking office and the railway station itself that's clearly been refurbished into a private house. And oh, sure enough, yeah, 1884, is that the date that's up on the wall? Yeah, in the sunshine. Lovely. Well, I finally made my way out of the village. I have to say, that has to be one of the most enchanting villages that I've ever seen. It was just one pretty thatched cottage after another. It really was quite delightful. Right, we're now going to go along this path here on the side of a downs. We're actually on the Test Way, which is a 44-mile long distance route that basically follows the line of the River Test. The sun's out, it is a glorious day. I'm filming middle of July and early in the morning. It's warm already. Beautiful. Oh, it is beautiful up here. Hardly a cloud in the sky. And so that's the view there. And as I turn around, there are some terrific views across the valley. And in the very, very far distance, I'll see if I can get a photo up because it's quite hazy over there. You can just about make out the observatory. So over at Chilbolton. It's been there since the 1960s. It was built there because of good visibility of the horizon. And it's built on an old RAF airfield that was opened in 1940, and it closed as an RAF station in 1946. And it was used by aircraft companies for flight testing until the 60s, before the observatory was set up. But it's, even from here it looks quite an impressive looking structure. Well, just before we come off the downs back into the village, I need to tell you a story about a dragon. Now, if you come in through the village, you might see the odd reference to a dragon from time to time. On the village sign as you come in, there's a little picture of one. There is indeed a legend of a dragon, a cockatrice dragon, which is a sort of dragon with just two legs and the head of a cockerel. Now, legend has it that way back in time, a duck laid an egg in the crypt at the Abbey, and a toad came along and hatched the egg, and this dragon was born. He was a bit of a pain in the neck because he used to fly around from the Abbey, picking up villagers and bringing them back to eat. Anyway, they managed to catch the dragon and put him in a dungeon in the Abbey, but no one was able to kill him. So word went out and said, well, anybody that can actually kill the dragon can be given some land. So a chap called Green came along, and he managed to put a mirror down into the dungeon. The dragon started fighting his reflection in the mirror, got exhausted, and Green was able to kill the dragon. And indeed, there's an area of land not far from here called Green Acres today. So that's the story of the Dragon. Oh, isn't this beautiful? This is the river test. 40 miles long. It rises near the village of Ash, which is about 10 kilometres to the west of Basingstoke, and flows to its estuary at Southampton, where it converges with the river Itchen to form the Southampton water. Got beautiful clear water with the gravel bottom, free flowing. I think I can see some fish down there. I'm guessing they're trout, possibly. Don't know, they're so well camouflaged. We'll see if I can take a picture, but it might be difficult to come out. You fancy a dip? You're thinking about it. But oh, this is so beautiful. Quite alluring, with the morning sunshine reflecting on the water and that lovely sort of babbling sound. Oh, it seems to be taking an eternity to cross this river. It's quite a long bridge. Now this area that we're about to come across is Chilbolton Cow Common, which is a designated site of special scientific interest. I think it was designated back in 1988. It's 48 acres and it's owned by the parish council. I see we've got a little sign here. What does this say? There's a little bit of the area where we're not allowed to go. I am filming, say, mid-July, so I mean we're going to be coming down this route here, but when I come back I was going to follow the bank, but we're just going to have to bypass that. Right. Oh, this is smashing. Alright, just coming to the edge of the common on the other side, another little bridge to pass over. Oh wow, isn't that lovely? Another thatched cottage in the far distance, and I think this can get quite popular later on in the day, with families coming for picnics and dipping their toes in the water. My big brave Whippet, you're going to give it a miss? Probably. But isn't that oh, I'm going to give up trying to come up with words to describe some of these scenes, and I'll just let the pictures tell the story. Well, we've now made our way to the outskirts of the village of Chilbolton. Made our way along a lovely little path that was in some shade, which was quite welcome with all this sun. We saw a sweet little shepherd's hut and some artist bracket fungi as well. The village of Chilbolton gets its name, well, it might be Anglo-Saxon. Chil is chalk stream, bol is barley, and tun is settlement. Although some historians reckon it might have been named after one of the chiefs of King Cerdic, who was King of Wessex. Now, behind me here is where the manor house used to be. I'm just walking through a meadow at the moment. There's lovely little white flowers there. I think these are a form of a bindweed, actually. Although it's a meadow bindweed that grows along the ground rather than upwards. I might be wrong, I'm not a great expert on wildflowers. And just panning round, where are we? There's the church, which we're going to have a little bit of a look at. I've just realised that I'm pointing directly at the sun as well. So we're going to make our way out of this meadow. Right, our second church of the walk behind me here in Chilbolton, and there she is. Its name is St Mary the Less. The name's a bit of a mystery. No one knows for sure which St Mary it's actually dedicated to, but around about 600 years ago the parish church at Andover changed its name from St Peter to St Mary, which meant there were two St Marys in the same deanery, so the much more important Andover church took precedence. But it's a pretty church. It's a 12th century building with extensive alterations over the years. Just looking at the bell tower there, that was taken down and then rebuilt in the present position in 1842. I love the weather vane at the top. I saw that actually says 1897. I think it's got 3 bells. Okay, we're going to start making our way through Chilbolton village. Again, this is going to be stacked full of quite exquisite thatched properties. And this little area in front of me is it's called Stocks Green, where indeed there were some stocks used until as recently as 1847. And there was a lookout tree here many years ago where observers could see down into the valley, and that cherry tree was planted here in 1995. But we'll carry on heading through and just quite overwhelming, some of these houses. They are so pretty. And this little area here is called Grindstone Green. I guess that's why there's a grindstone here for, well, public use possibly, for sharpening their knives. Don't know. And then across the road, the pub, the Abbot's Mitre, 19th century brick built, and then a little post office and stores with a thatched roof. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We're at Chilbolton and we're just going to head back across the common back to the car. Yes. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and like, and do make a comment. And as I always say, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. That way hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk in the countryside sometime in the future. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Yeah.